Good morning, everybody. This is Neil Warren, and I'm giving this session today during the lockdown period of the coronavirus crisis. I hope that everybody is keeping safe and well in these difficult times. And the session is going to look at specific VAT support available from HMRC for UK businesses. Look at some specific measures and how we can utilise those measures for our clients to help their cash flow. So the session is all about looking at the cash flow issues of the current crisis, not VAT savings, but wholly about VAT cash flow and the opportunities that are available. The first good news was the announcement that all VAT payments by registered businesses in the UK, that's all VAT registered businesses, including charities, clubs and associations who are also badly affected by the crisis, will be deferred between the 20th of March 2020 and the end of June. Now, this works very logically. If you've got a due payment date that falls within that time window, then you don't need to pay it. So it's not just about VAT on periodic quarterly returns. It also applies to, for example, payments on account made by large payers and those who use the annual accounting scheme. I'm going to cover an example of the annual accounting scheme later to show how the cash flow can improve for an entity with these new opportunities. Large VAT payers are basically businesses that have an annual VAT liability exceeding £2.3 million and who make payments on account on a monthly basis at the end of months 2 and 3 of their VAT quarters, making the balancing payment at the end of month 4, plus the 7-day payment for electronic payments. The VAT returns where this mainly applies to are ending February, March and April, payable respectively by the 7th of April, 7th of May and 7th of June. Now, based on this current window, that means the May 2020 VAT return does not qualify because the payment date is the 7th of July. So let's just clarify that payment date. A VAT return is payable within 1 month of submission, but electronic payments, you get a 7-day extension, i.e. to the 7th of July 2020. Now, these payments that you are effectively delaying are payable by, at the latest, the 31st of March 2021. That is the date on the HMRC guidance. I've read one or two reports and articles saying the 5th of April 2021. I know it's only 5 days apart, but in the VAT world, we work on month-end dates rather than 5th of April. No application process is needed, so by basically not paying VAT that's due within those dates, then you're effectively utilising the scheme. You don't need to write to HMRC to request the opportunity to use it. However, where you do need to be proactive is if you have any direct debit payments set up for HMRC, where you get the extra 3 working days before you pay your VAT. Direct debits need to be cancelled with your bank rather than relying on HMRC to do that for you. So allow plenty of time before those due dates to ensure the bank cancels the intended payments. All VAT returns must still be submitted on time. That's important to avoid a potential default surcharge liability notice for the period in question. And good news there, very logically, no default surcharge penalties or interest will be applied on the deferred payment. So basically, the non-payment in March to June is effectively an interest-free loan until March next year. As you would expect, repayment VAT returns submitted to HMRC will be repaid as normal for businesses that have mainly zero-rated sales, for example, exporters or farmers. Consider reducing payments on account in the current year. Now, this is geared again at the large payers and users of the annual accounting scheme. And the reason this opportunity needs to be considered is because with the payments on accounts, with both annual accounting and the large payers scheme, the amount you pay in the current year is based on your VAT liability in the previous year. Now, I think it's fair to say that for many businesses, profits will be lower in 2020 as a result of the coronavirus compared to 2019, and therefore the estimates payments on account will be too high for this current year. Now, the good news on that is with both the annual accounting scheme and the large payer scheme, you can contact HMRC to reduce those payments on account to help your cash flow. So the payments on account become based on your expectations of the current year's VAT payments rather than the historic figures from 2019. And the reason you want to reduce the payments on account is very logically the adverse trading impact of the coronavirus. What I want to share with you here is a practical example that I got involved with last week, soon after the announcement of the new scheme, as to how these arrangements that I've just mentioned can make a real difference to the cash flow of a business in this difficult year. 2020, let's accept it will be a difficult year for businesses and individuals across the board. So this is a business using the annual accounting scheme. We call him Jones for ease of reference, making monthly VAT payments on account. Now, with the annual accounting scheme, you put in your annual VAT return. So in this particular business, that was to the 31st of October last year, a payment of £100,000 to HMRC. The annual accounting scheme can be used by any business with taxable sales of less than 1.35 million, excluding VAT. Now, the VAT return to 2020 October, as a result of the adverse trading issues we've talked about, is expected to be 50,000, a 50% reduction in the VAT liability. So how can we utilise that expectation to improve our cash flow? Now, with the annual accounting scheme, you make monthly payments of 10% of your previous year's liability, i.e. £10,000, at the end of the fourth month of the annual accounting period through to month 12. That's a direct quote from the HMRC guidance, which I researched specifically because the end of the month has an important issue, which is that the instalments due for March, April, May and June will deferred. So there's a 4-month deferment window there because we've got 31st of March, 30th of April, 31st of May, 30th of June. All those dates fall in the HMRC deferment period window of 20 March to 30 June. So we would probably have made our first payment of £10,000 on the 28th of February, month 4, i.e. the first 10% instalment. So the next bit of proactivity for this particular client is to write to HMRC and say that the payments on account are too high. The realistic figure for the current year is £5,000 a month, i.e. 10% of our estimated liability to the end of October 2020, £50,000. Now, what I would suggest is done there. Let's be honest, there are certain practical issues which we're perhaps a little bit unclear of at the moment. This legislation and guidance was issued by HMRC very promptly and obviously very quickly to try and make things happen. What I would suggest happens here is that the £10,000 paid in February, which should have been £5,000, becomes the July payment. So pay nothing in July, which gives a 5th month without payments, i.e. July, and then the reduced payment of £5,000 is due from August to November, i.e. the last 4 months of the 10 for the monthly instalments. Moving forward, we put our annual VAT return in to the 31st of October 20. Our estimate is spot on. We owe £50,000. With annual accounting scheme, that's payable 2 months after the year end, so by the 31st December. But the good news is we owe nothing on that particular date because we've already paid £30,000 on account and we've deferred £20,000, 5,000 times 4, in the March to June deferment window. So nothing to pay by the end of December. We move forward and the deferred VAT of £20,000 for the March to June window is payable by the 31st of March 2021. Now, I'll keep that slide on the screen there for a couple more seconds, but the key point that's being shown here very clearly is if we did nothing in this situation and just paid £10,000 per month from February to October, we'd not only overpay VAT by a considerable amount, but we'd lose the cash flow benefits that are highlighted on this slide. So instead of having paid £100,000 by the end of November by doing nothing, we've actually paid only £30,000, the rest due in March, 20,000, a massive cash flow difference and good news for businesses in similar situations to that. The Payment Support Service used to be known as the BPSS, Business Payment Support Service. The B has been taken off in recent times because it extends to all taxes, I guess, including self-assessment. Now, what happens, this will be a very important question, what happens when we come to March next year and we're struggling to pay the balance of the VAT that's been deferred in the March to June window? Answer is think about contacting the PSS. Now, the PSS at the moment is working only Monday to Friday, 8 till 4. In the past, it has been a 7-day-a-week service, including Saturday, Sunday, reasonable hours in both days. Reduced hours at the moment due to the staff shortages affecting everybody. Telephone number there, 0300 200 3835. It's best to make the call. Be prepared to make the call, raise your points, rather than apply in writing. Now, looking at the HMRC website, I just want to share with you two extracts from the site about the PSS. When it was the BPSS, there was more detail about what they'd consider and, if you like, the parameters. This is more looking at the strategy of the PSS without getting further involved in specific details. There's the purpose of the line. Call the PPS if you cannot pay in full before your payment deadline. And the policy is for a realistic time to pay agreement to be reached as a temporary option tailored to your business needs. Now, one of the questions I've been asked many times over the years is how long can we get? If we ring them up, how long will they accept? Will it be 3 months? Will it be 6 months? Will it be 12? That particular quote there highlights really two key points. One, it's tailored to your business needs, so it's flexible. And the key thing there, it's a temporary option only. It's not intended to be something you go back to every quarter and utilise on an ongoing basis. It's a temporary option tailored to your business needs. Now, just be aware what I put at the bottom slide there. Key issue is that a condition of the agreement will be that future VAT returns and payments, so you're asking for a certain batch of VAT to be spread over perhaps a number of months, that future VAT returns and payments must be made on time, otherwise then the agreement is nullified and becomes irrelevant. So when you approach the PSS, I was about to say BPSS there, when you approach the PSS, then make sure that you've got it clear in your mind what your needs are from a cash flow point of view, and the cash flow forecast needs to reflect the fact that future VAT returns and payments will be made on time for a number of reasons. First, to keep the agreement valid, but also obviously to avoid any default surcharges that might be applied. Now, that concludes this session. This is my first session on the coronavirus challenges. The next session I'll be doing will look at managing VAT and cash flow in the longer term to try and help the working capital of a business. So some specific cash flow opportunities for VAT outside of the specific measures we've talked about in this session, and I'll cover that in session 2, and that concludes this session.